50 seasons. I mean, that's half a century of comedy history, and Saturday Night Live just wrapped it up. But instead of the huge bash you might expect, the finale felt, well, a bit different.
Yeah, quieter, maybe.
Okay.
Today on the Deep Dive, we're zeroing in on that season closer for SNL's Big 5-0.
And we're basing our chat on an Associated Press report, which gives a pretty good picture of the main moments and the overall vibe of that final episode.
Exactly. So it's not just a recap we're doing here.
Right. Our goal is to really dig into, the host, the sketches, that particular tone, and see what it might suggest about SNL right now at this huge milestone.
Okay, so where do we start? The host.
Let's do that, Scarlett Johansson. And this wasn't just another hosting pig for her. It was actually her 7th time.
7th? Wow.
Which is a record for any woman hosting the show. That's pretty significant when you consider the talent that's been on that stage over 50 years.
Absolutely. So you'd probably expect this big standout solo moment to kick things off, right? Mm-hmm. But the monologue, the traditional monologue, took a really interesting turn. It did. Instead, Johansson brought out pretty much the entire current cast. It wasn't stand-up, not at all. It was a group thing.
A song, wasn't it?
A song, yeah.
Yeah.
Set to Billy Joel's Piano Man, which everyone knows. And choosing that format, moving away from the solo spotlight, it immediately signals something different.
Like maybe emphasizing the ensemble?
Could be. Or, maybe trying to redefine the SNL opening after all this time. Perhaps hinting at a more collaborative feel moving forward. Makes you wonder.
That's a great point. And the song itself, the lyrics really leaned into that reflective feeling. They sort of gave us a quick rundown of the past year.
Mm-hmm. Mentioning the election, their own anniversary special, that big concert they did.
Yeah, it was like a little musical yearbook recap of their season.
It was a neat way to touch on those cultural moments the show probably dealt with all season. And that little joke about Billy Joel maybe showing up.
Right. And then, nope, he just wrote the song.
Classic SNL self-aware humor right there.
Definitely. And speaking of that kind of inside baseball humor, there was that moment in the song they joked about Sarah Sherman leaving.
Oh, yeah. And her reaction looked genuinely surprised on camera.
Now, the AP report makes sure to say, no official cast departures have been announced. So is that just a meta joke, or is there maybe something more going on there?
Well, it raises questions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About the show's internal stuff, how they handle all that speculation about who's staying, who's going.
Because people get really invested.
Totally. Even in a lighthearted song, they're playing with what the audience expects. It shows how much viewers connect with the performers themselves.
Okay, let's shift gears to another SNL pillar, Weekend Update. The finale wouldn't be the finale without Colin Jost and Michael Che doing their annual tradition.
That joke swap, yeah. Where they write just incredibly inappropriate jokes for each other to read live.
It's become this thing people really wait for. Sometimes it gets pretty controversial, too.
It really has. It feels like a deliberate break from the normal news satire, and maybe a way for the writers to push boundaries,
Yeah.
See what they can get away with. It often gets buzz outside the show.
And this year, it got a bit personal, but in that very SNL way. Apparently, Che has made jokes about Scarlett Johansson before.
Joe's wife, yeah.
Right. So in this kind of funny, maybe slightly awkward moment, Jost actually made Che bring Johansson out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she could demand an apology from Che for comparing part of her body to Costco roast beef in a past joke.
That's a perfect example of the kind of humor they go for in that segment. A bit unexpected, maybe a little uncomfortable.
Blurs the lines, definitely.
Yeah, between their public image and real life. Mm-hmm. It's jarring, but can be really funny. You wonder how much is planned and how much is genuinely reacting in the moment.
And the jokes didn't stop there. There was one written for Jost that hit on something everyone's talking about, who takes over for Lorne Michaels eventually.
Ah, the succession question.
Yep.
And Joe delivered the line, totally deadpan. Lorne, retire, bitch. Let me run the show.
Wow. Okay. So they're really leaning into that.
Seems like it.
What's striking is how openly they're acknowledging that whole conversation within the show. Lorne Michaels, he is SNL for 50 years.
The founder, the constant.
Exactly. So any talk about who comes next is huge for TV, for comedy, for political satire. The fact that they're putting it right out there, even as a joke, that feels significant.
Okay, what about the pre-taped stuff, the digital shorts?
Right, there were a couple of notable ones. One had Johansson and Bo and Yang.
Oh yeah, I read about this one. The premise sounds interesting.
It's definitely provocative.
Yeah.
Johansson's character finds out Yang's character has only been pretending to be gay for, quote, clout.
which taps into all sorts of current discussions.
Yeah.
Identity, authenticity.
For sure, but with that SNL comedic twist. Because the joke then becomes that she's still heartbroken, even though he was faking. When she finds out, he's also involved with Ego and Wutham, Heidi Gardner, and even a guest star, Emily Ratajkowski. Okay, so it just keeps layering on the absurdity. Classic digital short move.
Exactly. That complex, tangled web involving multiple cast members gives it that behind-the-scenes feel, too.
And then there was another one from the Please Don't Destroy guys.
Yep, their signature style, high energy, often pretty surreal.
What was the setup?
Johansson treats the trio to a first-class flight. Starts out luxe,
But it obviously goes wrong.
completely wrong. It turns into this kind of over-the-top hip-hop video on the plane and then ends with sheer panic as they realize they're landing at Newark Airport.
Ah, Newark, the punchline airport in their world.
Depicted as just utter chaos, yeah. It's that mix of something relatable, like flight anxiety, with total absurdity. That's their thing.
Bad Bunny was in it.
Popped up as the air traffic controller. His first day on the job, apparently, and he's the only one there.
That's brilliant. That blend of celebrity cameos and weird roles and, like you said, relatable panic. That's why their stuff often goes viral, I think.
Totally agree. They've really found that internet native humor, fast-paced, unexpected twists, it resonates.
Okay, last big piece, the cold open. And it sounds like it was familiar territory. James Austin Johnson as Trump again.
Yes, his impression has been a mainstay. This sketch was about Trump finding love with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
Right, continuing that political satire focus.
And then, in a very meta ending, Johnson's Trump broke the fourth wall.
Spoke right to the audience.
Yep. Offered his own review of the finale, called it the worst one yet.
Huh.
And then quipped about seeing everyone again in the fall. If we still have a country, it's a coin toss.
Wow. That really brings together that self-deprecating humor we saw earlier with a pretty sharp political jab. A dark but funny way to end.
Definitely unsettling, but also very SNL. So stepping back, looking at the whole episode, that description from the AP article, reflective and low-key, it really fits, doesn't it?
It does. It wasn't the massive fireworks display you might have pictured for season 50.
That's a key point, I think. Instead of this huge party, it felt more like looking inward, acknowledging how the show works, the cast dynamics, even a bit of self-critique.
Yeah. Makes you wonder if that subdued tone was deliberate. Maybe signaling something about how they see themselves after all this time.
The episode touched on, well, all the core SNL things, really. Its history, the cast humor, the Lawrence succession buzz, political satire, celebrity hosts, but all delivered with this surprisingly understated, almost self-effacing feel.
It's interesting, that balance. They didn't force the celebration. Maybe it suggests a certain confidence. Like they know what they are after 50 years. No need for excessive fanfare.
Which kind of leads us to a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah.
Given this more, let's say, reserved ending to such a landmark season,
Yeah.
what could that signal about where SNL is heading?
Right. As it goes into its next 50 years, is this quiet confidence a sign of stability? Or maybe a sign of a transition happening more quietly behind the scenes?
Or maybe something else entirely. It definitely leaves you with a lot to think about regarding the future of this comedy institution.